Hey guys, happy morning, happy Thursday morning here from Tahiti. It's me, Tumo Vauhkonen from Tumo Vauhkonen Coaching, coming to you live this beautiful morning with Gregory Long, who is coming to us from Michigan. How are you doing, Greg? What's happening
Doing
in your
great. Doing great. So good to be here with you.
awesome, fantastic. All right, so today what's going to happen is we're going to be talking about change. One of my favorite topics. There's also a Path of Change group coaching program experience that I'm launching out. So what a better way and what a better person to talk to about change than Craig. Craig's been in the coaching world a little bit longer than I have, and he's got a whole bunch of amazing clients and a lot of in hands-on and boots on the ground work that he's doing, and I love his approach because it's very much results oriented. Greg is someone that is a kind of quote unquote straight shooter, if I will, and I love his approach because he doesn't take BS. He just tells you how things are and gets you moving forward with momentum. So that's what I love about him. So let's launch straight into it, Greg, and give us a little bit of your backstory. What got you from where you were into where you are right now, and especially in relation to personal development? How did you get into it? How did you get into the coaching field and the personal development?
Well, it was one of the things I've got into personal development is, my own behavior. When I started to produce results that I wasn't happy with, I started to wonder why I do the things I do. Why do I behave? Why do I think the way I think? I have three brothers, so there's four boys, right? And you think if we were all come from the same family, we were all raised the same way, that we'd all produce the same kind of results, right? So far from the truth. When I was 37, 36, somewhere right in there, I divorced my wife. My kids were 4 and 6 years old. I got divorced because I was sure she was the problem. They were the problem. All that was the problem, right? And so I gathered enough evidence where I could walk out of the marriage and still live with myself, right?
Right.
And then over the next 3 years, 4 years, I got into 3 or 4 different relationships. And the funny thing happened is within 6 months, they all turned into my ex-wife.
Oh, wow.
So I had this aha, hey, what's the common denominator through all these relationships? This moment of truth, this realization that, maybe it's me. And I know, everybody gets that moment of truth where maybe I'm the problem, but no, I was the problem.
Right.
Like my whole life was driven by making other people responsible for my happiness. And when they didn't do them, I dumped them.
Wow.
And I made a promise that week that I went through this, I found a coach, I found a mentor. His name was Chauncey. And I told him, I said, listen, I've been a real jerk. I don't even know how to deal with it. How can I repair all this damage? He goes, well, first off, the fact that you're a jerk means you stand a chance. And he says, if you're committed to repairing the damage, we can do that. And within the next 9 months, I was remarried to my ex-wife, and my kids were the maids of honor. And
wow.
it was the greatest. It was this brand new beginning. I got to be the human being that I knew I was supposed to be.
Beautiful.
And, that was 20 years ago. But in that moment, I also got interested in not repeating it again. So the personal development pathway was like, okay, good. I did all that. And how can I not do that again? Change, right? How can I was real committed to change, to transforming my view of life. So I started to take on different seminars, different programs. I did the Landmark Forum. I got a coach from Tony Robbins. I did some Mary Morrissey program. I immersed myself in transformation, because I just didn't want to repeat that thing again, that behavior again. And I was a builder at the time. So I'm building houses, I'm doing seminars, I'm building houses. I get to see that my company's not growing because who I'm being with my employees, right? I had to transform more than just a relationship with my family. I had to transform my relationship with human beings.
Yeah.
And so I had a very successful building company. And in 2008, when the economy took a dive here in the States, it was a perfect time. My company went away. There was no more work. You know, so I sat there at 50 years old going, okay, now what? Well, I had at that point 9 years of intensive training in what it is to be a human being and uncovered all these things about myself. And so it took about 3 years before I was committed to stepping into the coaching world and making it my career. You know, I hung on to the builder identity because I wasn't willing to let go of that and be a coach. And the funny thing was, once I let go of being a builder, my coaching company started to expand and grow. And it's been a little over 9 years now. And I've created this wonderful clientele base. I just love the people I work with. All my work is referral right now. I don't do any marketing to speak of. And I get to spend time with you on these live chats where we get to discover what it is to change. Why is it so difficult?
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful backstory. There's so many things that I could, take from there. You talk about identity, but let's like one of the things that came very beginning, the big thing that stood up for me is the responsibility. You kind of like, you put your right hand up as like, hey, I'm responsible of all this crap that I've created. How hard was that to kind of face yourself, the kind of the inner demons? And was there a spark? What was the trigger, if you will, that made you realize like, holy smokes, I'm actually responsible for everything that I created? Was it something like, are you able to put a finger on that trigger?
Yeah, it was pain. You know, when I ended the last relationship, when I was divorced, I was all alone, sitting in my rented house with this, this loss, this emptiness, this sickness, this soul sickness inside, this something that just really was, I didn't even know if I was going to make it through the night because I never experienced anything like that.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for my mentor and coach reaching out the next morning and actually talking, and uncovering, that I wouldn't have got it as quick as I did, because it was just, it was that moment of truth where you get to face reality. Like, you're the problem, and over the years, it's the first place I go now. If my life isn't operating the way I think it should operate, or if my relationships aren't, the first place I go is over here.
Yeah.
I might try to blame some other people, but I can't even do it with a straight face anymore,
Right. Yeah.
So it's that pain moment, or that discovery of, I'm in the place that I said all the things I created, that when I got there, I'd be happy. And then when I finally got there, I discovered I was never more miserable.
Wow. So it's that the cliche thing that the destination is like, the goal doesn't have the goal that we're reaching for doesn't really have what we expected it to be. And once you get there, it's like, what now? Like, is this it? Like, is this what I was going for?
Yeah. I think it's even, it's okay to make up. I think if I make up who I want to be and what difference I want to make, then that goal is tangible. But if I think that it's outside of myself that I'm going to chase, and when I get that thing outside myself, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Stuff isn't the result,
Stuff isn't the result. I love that. I'm going to keep that in mind. And in my soul and in my heart and in the change process. So let's jump into the change, because what you mentioned there, that the biggest trigger for you was the pain. And let's put it this way. We have a 1-year-old here at the house. And obviously everybody knows, most of the people, especially the parents, we know that how the children learn, and how the change and the growth happens for children. It's all through curiosity. It's all through a play and fun and excitement and discovery. And then something happens along the lines, and we kind of lose that curiosity. We lose that sense of play and fun and excitement. And then it becomes the change process. A lot of the times, especially for adults, and most of the time, I think for adults, it happens through that pain and suffering and sort of negativity, if you will.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? And is there a way that we could go back into that sort of play mentality, And what I'm hearing you saying that the negativity is kind of a bigger trigger, as long as we're able to use it. I think it's like a two-edged sword, if you will. Like it can really have that strong pull. It can like pull you back down into the depths of the valleys, if you will. But if you're able to harness that power and the energy that comes from that adversity and those negative experiences, I think that is a really truly, like, there's a tremendous amount of power in that negativity. So what would be your sort of ideas? Let me just put it this way: what would be your ideas of how can we harness that negativity into our forward momentum?
Well, I think that part of the process is you just have to own that's who you are.
Right.
See, once I owned it and embraced it, it's not like I woke up one morning and said, that's the person I want to become.
Right.
It just turned out that that's the person I became.
Mm-hmm.
That's just turned out that way, through the pathway, through my young life, the decisions I made, I just turned out that way, selfish and self-centered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I embrace it and I own it, that's the core. That's, if I don't work on that every day, that person's going to show back up.
Right.
So I have a defense against it by owning that's who I am. But I think a lot of us want to deny that's who we are.
Right.
And we pretend we're not. Like, I have no problem owning that I'm lazy.
Interesting.
I'm lazy. I'm really lazy, but now I have a defense against it every morning, knowing that I'm lazy. I know it's going to take some work to get to the gym every morning because
Right.
I've owned that I'm lazy. Well, do I want the benefits of the gym? I do want the benefits. I want to look good. I want to be healthy. I want to have enough energy to play with my grandchildren, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know I'm lazy. Left to my own devices, I'm going to lay on the couch and do nothing.
Right.
Right. And instead of hiding that, I own it. That's who I am. Okay, good. Now that's the guy I got to deal with every morning to get to the gym.
Wow. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. If you think about it, we're so committed to comfort in life that whenever change comes, we have to be uncomfortable. So at all costs, I avoid being uncomfortable. How do I do that? Well, I start to declare that it's going to be too hard. Or I start to declare that I can't do it. Or I start to declare I'm not smart enough. All those things let me off the hook for exactly what you said in the beginning, being responsible for living the life that I said I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's a safety mechanism that's built in.
Yeah.
That's where blame comes from. Safety mechanism. I don't have to be uncomfortable if I can blame you for my life not working.
Yeah. 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 Something that comes to me that was one of, like, it's super simple but yet so powerful that comes to me right now. We were in Bali and we went into this retreat on the northern side of Bali, and this beautiful Balinese family, and the husband of the family was a yoga teacher, and every morning we had a yoga class. But it was actually more, so we did some postures for like 10-15 minutes, and then we sat down and we talked for another 10 to 15 minutes, then we carried on. But one of the most transformational things that he told me, and he showed, like, whenever you're pointing finger, like, let's put it this way, when you're pointing a finger at someone like this, like, that's your fault, how many fingers are pointing at you? How many fingers are pointing at you? There's 3 fingers right here that are pointing right at me, right? So you're trying to blame someone else, but those 3 fingers are actually pointing at you. So that's the person that's responsible instead of the other person. It's almost like you can say it's 3 times more powerful that you're actually reflecting your own inner demons, your negativity out into the world to the others, because you are not equipped, or you don't want to take the responsibility that you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But if you look at those 3 fingers, then you're like, holy smokes, that's actually me.
You got to slow down and look, though, don't you?
That's it. So how do you bring that awareness into your days? You mentioned you go to the gym. There's a lot of, like, I think we understand that, like what we're talking about, the responsibility is easy to talk about, it's easy to understand, but how do you bring that sense of awareness, that responsibility to your everyday actions, your everyday life? You said that you go to the gym. What does your sort of in practice, what does it look like to you to bring that sort of quote unquote higher awareness, like, holy shit, that's actually me that's causing this?
You know, I think what happens is if I schedule, I have a pretty rigid schedule that I put together for myself in the morning, right? And I've made up that schedule. It's not the truth, but I've made up that this rule, this process in the morning gives me a defense, no guarantees, but it gives me a defense against that selfish, self-centered, lazy guy showing up during the day.
Right.
Right. And it's all created. You know, we think that when we're self-employed and we're a coach, we have all these choices during the day. Well, I think that if I'm really committed to being a great coach, then I've limited my choices, because I have to do the things a great coach would do. I have to get up in the morning and do what I said I was going to do. I have to deal with my word all day long. And then I stand a chance of becoming the person that I say I am in the world. I can't get up whenever I feel like it anymore. Why? Because that's not something that is aligned with who I say I am for you. It would come across kind of phony when I deal with a corporation and I start to instill, you know, their relationship with their word inside their business when I can't keep it to myself.
Right.
There'd be a phony up in front of the room, and it wouldn't take long before you're sniffed out, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean I'm always going to do it, but it means that, you know, I don't hide the fact that I didn't do it or pretend that I do. You know, like I start to deal with myself every time. So I try to keep that rigor in place. And one of the biggest things is, since being, you know, remarried 20 years ago, one of the biggest things is keeping the foundation of my relationship at home pristine. Because if that's pristine, I don't have to worry about out in the world. That takes care of itself.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we operate the other way around. We say, once I get out there working, then I'll bring pristine home to my relationship. And that's where the downfall is. Because that I don't think I can accomplish anything that I want to accomplish in life unless my foundation at home is pristine.
Yeah.
So I do the work there. It's intentional. Sometimes I have to schedule it, you know, because remember, I'm self-centered and lazy, right? So if I don't schedule making sure my wife is acknowledged for the person she is, then I'll only do it when I feel like it.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it's great. Great question.
I love that foundation, like setting the foundation right. And again, like, somebody watching this either live or replay. By the way, the guys, there's Michael there, there's Ipek, like, leave us some comments, leave us some ideas if you're checking us out on live. How does Greg's ideas sync and resonate with you guys? We would love to hear that. But yeah, like, somebody watching who is probably not in a relationship right now is like, oh, I don't have a wife, I don't have a husband or kids or so on and so forth. We all have a one shape or form foundation. If it's your meditation practice, if it's your movement practice, if it's reading books, if it's writing, going out to the nature, family, whatever that foundation is, I think cultivating that foundational practice or that foundation each and every morning, it is so necessary, whatever that is, that it is. And that way we're starting to, that also really builds that self-identity, because that you start being, the self-confidence comes from those foundational practices. You're true to your own word, right? That exactly what you just said about those corporations. So building that self-identity, building that self-confidence first thing in the morning, or the first part of the day, I think is absolutely crucially important. Now, talking about change and talking about that foundation, the identity, how much you work on that identity in a way, like you saying yourself, and I'm curious about this, you're saying that you're lazy. Is that something that you want to change still, or is that you own it in a way, or how do you see the process of identity change in a way throughout the years?
Well, I think it's only practice. Right? See, I know that I'm lazy, right? So now I have a defense against it. And the defense against it is start getting up every morning and do the things that I scheduled and said I'm going to do. And pretty soon, you know, being lazy is almost impossible. Like I think it's been 2 years since the alarm has woke me up in the morning.
Wow.
Because you know, my commitment is to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock, right? So the alarm goes off inside my head at 10 to 5.
Yeah.
But that's not natural compared to who I was.
Back in the
It's just
day.
not the norm. People go, well, no, that's, you know, you're lazy. Well, I know I'm lazy, but I still get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right?
Right.
So I think it's practice. I think it's putting in enough. And the problem with the change is I have to stick to it long enough until that moment. There's a moment when change happens. It's, you know, like I get up in the morning, 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 I get up in the, and then I get up in the morning again, and I get up in the morning again. And then there's a moment where the alarm's not necessary.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's the same with, I put on my shoes and go to the gym. I put on my shoes and go to the gym. And then there's a moment that I just get up and don't even think about it. It's not even a complaint, or I don't even, do I feel like going this morning? I don't check in with my feelings, right? It's the same way with my commitment to my relationship. I practice and I practice and I practice and I practice. And then there's a moment when it's just who I am for my wife.
Love it.
So I have to keep playing to the moment, which is really discouraging for a lot of people, because when I'm playing till that moment, it's really uncomfortable because I'm going to mess up. I'm going to fail. I'm going to not get up. I'm going to screw it up. You know, the moment I try to change something, it gets worse. Don't you know that, right?
Yeah.
The moment I get into an exercise routine, I sleep past the alarm the first morning. Oh, there I see. I'm trying to align and give myself excuses and reasons not to fulfill on my word. And I have to go through that process. It's like anything else. Once I go through it, I hang on to it. Because why? I don't want to go through it again.
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about, I love to, because I've heard about not recently, some time ago. I think what you're talking about there from the kind of scientific perspective is you're talking about the point of automaticity. I think that's what the scientists call it. It's basically when we're building habits, for example, you're building a habit of waking up early or going to the gym. It's hard. There's a lot of resistance. But then you hit this threshold, you hit the point of automaticity, or you hit that switch, if you will. And then that act, that habit, that routine becomes actually easier to do than not to do. It becomes harder not to do it than to do it.
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah, I wouldn't, not to do it, man. You have miserable days and you wonder why. And it's because you weren't responsible and you let yourself off the hook.
Exactly.
Now,
right.
I can plan 3 weeks out, not exercising on a particular day and being okay with that because it's a planned, it's in my calendar. It's not a moment of feeling that I said I would go to the gym and didn't go to the gym.
Right.
Different distinctions. I remember when I first started getting really healthy that I'd get out of bed, my knees would, because I was a carpenter for 25 years, you know, I'd get out of bed, my knees would hurt, my hips would hurt, my body would hurt. And this amazing thing happened. Once I got to the gym, nothing hurt.
Wow.
Every day, right? Because the mind is that powerful. It's going to start to try to give me all the reasons and align with me not to go to the gym. And then when you get to the gym, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So I think you've mentioned along the way, it's consistency, going through that uncomfortable, hanging on long enough until that transformation happens. It's all those things. It's declaration and language. It's keep the negative thoughts in your mind and not out of your mouth, because once you declare that negative thought, it impacts you like that.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, keep your mouth shut and do what you said.
I love it. There's someone that I follow along quite a lot called Trevor Mowat. He wrote a book about it, and I spoke about the same thing in our last workshop that we did last month. Sorry, that negativity is 4 to 7 times more powerful than positivity is.
Yeah.
And when we speak, when we verbalize our thoughts and our ideas, it becomes 10 times more powerful, right? So if you keep things inside of your head, like especially the negative things, we have to let them out, obviously. If you don't, because otherwise they build up and they bottle up. But if you speak them out, they become 10 times even more powerful towards yourself. So what you just said to like kind of keep them out. And what I always like to say, like, don't speak that stuff out, act it out. Like, go for a run, go into the nature, do something, go to the gym. Like, that's where you can act those things out in a way, instead of speaking them out to kind of release them and let other people be affected of your negativity. Because
brilliant.
yeah, because so what happens is actually when you speak negativity out, it becomes 40 to 70 times more powerful than just keeping it inside of you. So imagine how much you affected yourself and how much you're affecting the other people
Yeah.
with your negative thoughts. So that's one of the I think for me it was like super transformational idea that's like, hey, like act those things out. Don't like go and shout out the rooftops how things suck in the world. And that's, you know.
Well, I'm sure that's why I left and divorced my wife in the beginning.
Mhm.
It's because I started speaking what a problem she was and all that. Instead of taking responsibility, I started to put the negative things about out there. And pretty soon I acted on everything that I created.
Right,
You know?
right. So building those habits of positive habits, building a habit, like you said, speaking positive words out and putting your, I think one of the most the best ideas for me is putting yourself into spaces and places that are encouraging, that are positive. Environmental epigenetic effects are
Yeah.
really powerful. So if you find out that you're in a space where there's a lot of negativity around, if it's people, if it's whatever it is, like as fast as you can, get yourself out there and have that awareness that, hey, this is not a healthy space for me right now. How can I change this space? How can I go into a healthier space and with healthier people, and more empowering, more uplifting people? And that's obviously where the coaching comes into, not just coaching, but mentoring our peer group. It is so amazingly effective that when it, like, in a way, that's the outside in method. Like I always say, like there's an inside out method, which is kind of like your meditation, your mindfulness practice, but then the outside in system or methodology is extremely powerful as well. When we utilize the peer group, when we utilize like natural beautiful spaces, art galleries for example, or going for a walk in the nature, whatever that is, that natural effect is so important that kind of feeds you back in, and then that reshapes your interior core. And I think when it comes to process of change, for me, one of the more foundational ideas is that it's inside out and it is outside in. When we can use both directions in harmony, I think that's when we really start hitting the crowd running. Like doing that internal work and also doing the external work, being very conscious, being very aware of those external spaces and places that we put ourselves into.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So what does it look like to you? I'm just going to piggyback on that idea that I just said. Like how fast you're able to trigger yourself. Like, okay, this is not healthy right now. Either your own thoughts or sort of those external spaces that I just mentioned about.
Oh man, I've put all kinds of red flags in place right now. You know, if the octave of my voice goes up, that's a trigger that I got hooked on something. You know, that's the other guy. You know, there's something there that's taken me out of it, or I added meaning to something. You know, with my in my relationship, if I stop being present in the relationship, it's another trigger. You know, there's you get so in tune that I know when something's off immediately. You know, and usually it's because I didn't honor my word. I put, you know, to myself or to others, right? And I didn't clean it up. You know, maybe a week later is when it impacts me, so I have to go back and look. You know, or when I'm being deceitful. You know, like I'm going to X golf and I tell my wife I'm working. My golf game never works out well. You know, so it's all the little things that that automatically trigger it. Now I can hold on to them. There's no rules, and most people would say, "Oh, that's tiny stuff. Don't buy." No, I don't want to pay the price. because there's a cost to holding on to all that. And I'm not willing to pay the price anymore. I'm not willing to give up connectedness, affinity, I'm being present. I'm not willing to give that up to hold on to an out of integrity for a week.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I used to be able to, that's just who I was. My whole life was like that.
Right.
So I think if you want to produce results, you got to keep your space that's around you pristine. And how do I do that? Well, I keep cleaning up my faults.
Right.
Because the more I clean them up, the more I get present to, oh, I don't like that. And I'm getting really tired of cleaning it up. So maybe I'll stop doing it. Again, back to your accountability, right? The groups and the accountability. What a powerful thing to have.
100%. So something that's coming up to me right now is that the change is a process. It's not a one-time event. Maybe we have those like triggers that like you had like something that you were sitting down. Like those are the triggers that we need like sometimes happens. But then the change is truly a process. Like I truly like what you just said. Like if you stop the process, if you're like, okay, I'm good now. I'm lying on the couch for tonight or whatnot. Then all of a sudden, like the dust starts falling down on the desk, and the body starts sagging away. Like Anna Maria just to say that the mighty body posture is reliable sign every time.
Good.
If you're not aware of like your body is just starting to go down, down, down. Every now and then you're like, okay, let's bring those shoulders back up. Let's put them down a bit. Let's bring the head up. And all of a sudden, just changing that body posture it changes your internal state. Like that actually happened to me a few days ago in my meditation practice. And like those little things that we do each and every day, almost like continuously, it is so powerful, because understanding, to me at least, it is that the change truly is a process that needs to be cultivated each and every day, continuously and consistently. It's not something that we're just going to do once and then we're good. It's a process. It is something that just keeps tacking along. It's one of the big words that comes to me is the entropy, which is something that we don't really have to get into too much. But entropy is something that is like the complexity, the chaos kind of like comes over us, and we need to kind of keep things more and more simple and more simplify our life to stay on the tracks, if you will.
Yeah, really good.
So
good
what do you
stuff, man?
Yeah, so let's start wrapping up here slowly. And so what if someone is in the depths of their valley right now and figuring things out and trying to like, okay, I'm too old, I'm too this, I'm too that, what would be sort of the 1 to 3 main ideas, main steps to start the process?
Well, first off is sharing, right? If you keep it inside your head and try to fix your own thinking with your own thinking, you're destined for more of the same.
I love it.
So I have to get out of my head. I have to start sharing myself. I have to share my things that I don't like about me, the things I'm not committed to. I have to share. I have to find an accountability partner that I can really let that stuff go. If it wasn't for Chauncey, I never would have been accountable for my behavior. He was just that open space where I could dump. And none of it surprised him. So, if you're holding out till you find the right person, there is no such thing. It's just a person, go get yourself a coach.
Yeah.
That's the business we're in. Get yourself a coach. The coach will stand for you until you can stand for yourself. Without a doubt, never misses. A coach will provide, if the coach isn't providing a space where you can be authentic and real, you need another coach.
Exactly.
Those are a couple of the things, and I think, I don't know, I think after I start sharing, then life starts to open up.
Love it.
Because I just spent 25, 30 minutes with you, and I became a better person out of spending 30 minutes with you, because I got to open up and share and get connected to all my inauthenticities, get connected to my commitment. And I did that because I got to share with you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Likewise. The benefits are mutual. They go both ways. Like I just said, it's inside out, outside in. It's always two directional. Whatever we put out, we expose ourselves, we learn more about ourselves. And that's the beauty of coaching. That's the beauty of sharing, like what you just said. That's the true power of the coaching. Obviously, we are both very biased to say that I think And I truly believe that we're both doing this because we believe in it, because it actually
Yeah.
works when you're doing the work. So just giving a little quick shout out about the Path of Change group coaching program and experience. Again, if you guys are interested to get into a group experience, like there's two experiences, two coaching methods, if you will. There's probably more, but two primary ones. It's one-on-one work that Greg said that is extremely powerful. I think everyone should have a coach or mentor or a trusted person that you can bounce around ideas, that you can be accountable. The accountability is so powerful. But then there's also the other part, which is the group experience, which is the community. It's not better or worse than the one. I think both are important, and so that's the reason why I'm launching a Path of Change group coaching experience, group coaching program that you can learn more about. Just go into my website, tuomacoaching.com/coaching, and you get to learn more about it. Amazing opportunity, very, very cool opportunity to get into a like-minded group. We're going to be sharing ideas and really getting accountable, finding more clarity and building more momentum, and really starting to live the life and lifestyle that we all deserve. So any closing, departing thoughts, Greg? Thank you so much for your time. And people that are not following from Greg from my community, check him out. He's posting something each and every day, especially on Facebook. And I hope that Greg will get a little bit more active on LinkedIn as well, where I hang out.
I'm on the way, brother. On the way.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. You wanna leave something else on the table?
One of the biggest things that the only thing that's got me where I am today is I didn't quit. I failed a bunch of times, but I never quit. So allow yourself to fail your way to the top,
Allow yourself to fail yourself to the top. I love that. We gotta learn through our mistakes and keep things going. Yeah, there we go. Michael says there, great sharing, Greg. Thanks for authenticity, well-guided conversation. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
That was awesome. Check out, if you guys checking us out on replay, give Greg a follow, especially on Facebook. He is a wealth of knowledge, and let's keep the journey going. Let's keep the path of change and the process alive and breathing. Thank you so much.